Cool. We will let y'all introduce yourselves in a second, hoping that folks can hear us. If you are out there in the live stream and you can hear us okay, please let us know. I know Baba Jihad is joining us all the way from Cameroon, so we will be gracious with any technical difficulties over there. But yeah, we wanted to kick off today's panel with words from Faranza Bowers, who was recently released back in April of this year, who would have loved to have joined us on this panel, but unfortunately is unable to due to the conditions of the parole. But peace, everyone. Welcome to Community Movement Builders. This is actually a part of our weekly political education series in the spirit of Black August. We are hosting this panel with some giants. My name is Mel. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm going to stop talking for now. I'm going to kick it over to my co-host, Dequi, to introduce herself, and then we're going to get started.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you for organizing this. My name is Dequi Kioni-Sadiki. I've been an activist organizer on behalf of U.S.-held political prisoners and prisoners of war for a very long time. I'm honored to be here for during this Black August time and give my greetings, my salams to my brothers that are here. I hope it's time to get back on here. So thank you, Mel, and Community Movement Builders for organizing this event.
Cool. All right. So before we get started, I'm going to do just a little bit of ground rule setting and kind of flow of how today's conversation is going to go. We do have a few questions, and we would love also for the audience, as y'all have questions, to drop them in the chat. We'll do our best to track them, and there will be a time where we'll be pulling in questions from y'all. We have an amazing body of panelists here who have just like a wealth of knowledge, who I've been really privileged to organize alongside or be in community with in different ways. And I know that all of y'all have a lot to say, and we just want to be really mindful of our time. I would love for this to be a dialogue, a conversation as we're answering these questions. Not everyone has to respond to every single question. If it's something that really calls to you or speaks to you, definitely speak on it. And as we kind of flow, would love for this again to just be a little bit of a conversation and give us time to bring in some of our questions from the audience. And we are going to start off also for the audience, right? I am asking for just grace with us as we, again, do have folks joining from international seas. We have a couple folks who are dealing with some technical issues this morning. So just grace as we're moving through our conversation and our questions today. But yeah, I want to just kind of kick us off. If everyone is prepared, hopefully everyone has prepared a 5-minute introduction just to share a little bit more about who you are, and yeah, who you are and what is important to you, what your practice is. And we don't have an order right now, but if there is someone who wants to kick us off with your 5-minute introduction, try your best to keep it 5 minutes. I've already shared with all of y'all and with Dequi, I'm not gonna be great at cutting y'all off or telling y'all to stop talking, because I always love listening to all the things that you have to say. So please try to be really mindful with your time, and I will definitely defer to y'all to hold each other to sharing space and all of those things. So that said, I might kick it over to Brother Jaleel if you are down to kick us off with your 5-minute introduction of who you are. Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum, peace, pause, Baragada, Jumbo, Afrin, Hafadea, Shalom. Whatever your native language is, I wish you peace and solidarity. I'm Jalil Mutakim, a veteran member of the Black Panther Party and Black Liberation Army. As a result of my work in the Black Panther Party and Black Liberation Army, I did 49 years in U.S. penal slave system. I call it slave system because that's what it is, according to the law. 13th Amendment United States Constitution says slavery and voluntary servitude, except for those who have been duly convicted of a crime, shall not exist in the United States or its jurisdiction. There's an exception clause. So this is a slave nation. I hope people understand that. This is a slave nation according to the law. Right? Slavery has never been abolished in this country. It just transformed from chattel slavery to penal slavery. We live in a slave nation. So I did 49 years inside a slave nation. And as a result of my being incarcerated, I continued to organize while I was inside. I'm not going to go into all of what I achieved while I was inside prison. I just want to say that that no matter where they send us, right, we still have war. Right? No matter they change the terrain, right, we still have war. And it's important for us to understand the dynamics of how we engage in struggle depending upon the environment from which we're in. But in all cases, for us, talking about Black people in this country, New African people in this country, right, we have never not been at war, right? And although we have not been conscious of it, this is our reality. So I just want to end that with that. And I think I'll popcorn it over to Jihad.
I don't see Jihad. I think he got dropped, him and Ashanti. So we'll go to Brother Akinsanya.
My name is Akinsanya Cambone. I was drafted in 1966 into the Marine Corps. I spent some time in Vietnam. Upon getting discharged, I became the Lieutenant of Culture of the Sacramento chapter of the Black Panther Party in 1968. I guess it's take this. Sorry.
That's okay. Life is happening.
Yeah.
If that you don't have to add more if you don't want to. We just want folks to have an idea of who people are and their experience.
Okay, yeah, I was Lieutenant of Culture of the Sacramento chapter of the Black Panther Party. Later on, I was arrested for murder on a police officer in 70. And I sat in the Sacramento County Jail in the death row wing for a year, fighting the case, and was acquitted. So I guess that's about all. And I'm an artist. And I was also with the All African People's Revolutionary Party for a number of years.
Okay. Yeah, we see your art back there. Thank you, brother. Welcome to the discussion. Okay, Brother Jihad. Should it be age before youth? Age before, who?
Age before you, like up last.
For beauty.
Oh, it's age before beauty. Okay.
Oh.
Well, I love you anyway, Ashanti. Jihad, both of you. Y'all pick who's going.
Ashanti can go first. He's older than I am.
Okay.
Ashanti's freezing.
Ashanti, can you hear us? Shake your head yes or no if you can hear us.
Late this morning.
He's not even on the camera anymore.
All right.
Ashanti, you might want to try, actually, if you might turn off your video for a little bit, your audio might come through a little smoother.
Okay, so while Ashanti gets that together, we'll go to you, Brother Jihad. Sorry about that.
Okay, yeah, indeed. So I'm just giving an introduction to myself. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm sorry, back in, I'm here in Cameroon. So I hope I come through clear. My name is Jihad Abdul Mumik, formerly in the Black, formerly a political prisoner.
Shantae, you have to mute yourself, Shantae.
I'm the presently the chairperson. Somebody.
Can you mute him now?
Can y'all hear?
I can't. I just asked our host if they can mute him.
Well, to continue, Chairperson of the National, I'm on the Committee for the Spirit of Mandela, trying to build the People's Senate Initiative. I'm also a member of the Community Movement Builder. I am, yeah, there you go. That's pretty much my main thing there. I'm a playwright, hoping to be able to showcase those skills pretty soon. And I'm 70 years old. Joined the Panther Party when I was 16. And thank you.
Yeah, no. I can't get a good connection.
That was it for my introduction.
Okay.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Shanti. Oh, there he goes. All right. So do we want to dive into the first question, and then when Ashanti and Baba Malik hop on, we'll have them introduce themselves?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Cool. Cool. So first up, could y'all share, all of y'all, right, happened to be members of the Black Panther Party at some point. Would y'all mind sharing what it was that led y'all to join the party?
All right, I'll start. You want me to start, Jad? Or you want to start? Go ahead, Jad. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. You go on. I think a lot of our stories are going to be similar. Just growing up in the 60s, and every summer was the season of rebellions. I joined when I was 16. I think almost all of us joined when we was about 16 years old, just seeking that change, and saw a lot of strength in the images of the Black Panther Party on television. And I sought out the local office, which really wasn't local. I went all the way to the Bronx, and I met this top soldier, Kimu Oglobala, Anthony White. He was assassinated by the police back in, I think, 73. And that's how I joined the Panther Party. Just seeing that my father was a history teacher at that particular time, so our family was always politically aware of what's going on. And I wanted to make that contribution in a strong, powerful way, so I joined the Panther Party.
Thank you, Brother Jihad. Okay, Brother Akinsanya, you want to chime in there?
Well, what drew me to the Panther Party, I had been a combat veteran, and when I met members of the Panther Party, I started doing artwork for the party. And eventually, after I learned to read, I think that's where I learned to read also, was in the party. And studying and learning about the 10-point platform and program, I kind of pretty much agreed with most of the things in it. And once I became more involved, the more committed I became. So eventually, I just became one of the party's artists. Worked pretty much under Emory Douglas.
Thank you. Okay, Brother Jaleel.
All right, thank you, sis. My trajectory to the Black Panther Party began at an early age. I was living in a household that was politically engaged, politically involved. My mom was a member of the NAACP, active member. She used to take us out on trips, marches and stuff like that in the NAACP. By the time I turned 16, I was organizing the Black Student Union in our high school. And I had some old comrades, old brothers who I used to hang out with as a teen, as a tween, basically, right, who had since joined the Black Panther Party. So one day I was hanging out with them, and we was emptying out the newspaper from the truck to be prepared for distribution at the office on Fillmore Street, Panther office on Fillmore Street. I was just hanging out with them. And I decided at that point in time, at age 16, I was going to join the Black Panther Party. But I also want to make a note that when I saw the Black Panthers march on Sacramento, right, as to challenge the Mumford Act, I saw them on TV. I then told my mom at that time, "Say I'm gonna be one of those. I'm gonna be one of those guys." And she didn't want to hear it, say, because she's doing some NAACP, Martin Luther King, turn the other cheek stuff, right? And I said, "Mom, these people, they fight for our people, right? So I'm gonna be one of them, right? So, age 16 to join the Black Panther Party. Age 19 was recruited. Age 18 was recruited into the Black Underground, and age 19 was captured and was in prison for 49 years. So that's how. 16, hanging out with my boys. Always knew I was engaged in politics since a young age, and that's at that point in time. I decided I'm becoming a member. Started PE classes, starting going to PE classes, and really training into the organizational structure and discipline of the Black Panther Party. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Each of you talked about like being young and like being teenagers, 16, 17, 18. And that's a reminder to folks about the youth always being the ones that work to change. And also the conditions, because everyone who's, people who joined the Black Panther Party, saw the conditions that Black folks were living under and living through and enduring, which are not different from, not different from today. And what I didn't include when I introduced myself, because I want to talk about the criminalization of the Black Panther Party. Many people may not know anything about COINTELPRO, but the conditions that people are living in under today is the result of the legacy of COINTELPRO. And it looks like Jihad just went out, because I really wanted to direct this question to him. I found out about political prisoners, U.S. held political prisoners and prisoners of war when I joined the Black Panther Collective, which was a collective that came after the destruction of the Black Panther Party by the FBI and in fighting, all of those things that resulted in its demise. And so I always say that political prisoners are a well-kept secret in the here in the United States, in this so-called quote land of freedom and democracy. So we're gonna come back to Jihad coming in, because as the chairperson, I think that as the chairperson of Jericho, he's a good person. Oh well, we can ask Ashanti, right? Ashanti, can you define for people, because there is so much revisionism, opportunism, lack of political education, lack of historical context. There are people being called political prisoners and being identified with the Black Liberation Movement that is insulting, to say the least, right? Because people have spent decades in prison for being members. You 19 and you're in your 70s and a great grandfather now, and Jihad and Ashanti. So Jihad, because you're back now, I want to ask you if you can define and distinguish between, as a former prisoner of war, can you define the difference between political prisoners, prisoner of war, and politicized prisoner?
Yeah, our definition, and I'm going by the National Jericho definition of political prisoner that's been researched for a while now. So it's drawing off of the United Nations definition of political prisoners also, and then connected with our Pacific reality in the United States. So political prisoners, that person has been captured, confined, or whatever for their political beliefs and their activism in the community, regardless if they were set up or what, or committed some type of action. They went to prison because of their beliefs and acting out on those beliefs, regardless if they were set up or framed like Mumia or whatever the case may be. That it is. The prisoner of war is somebody that's actually fought against the government with weapons or on that line of struggle there and was captured. And so the politicized prisoners like George Jackson, I guess that would be the most stellar example of that. Somebody that went to prison for street crime or something like that and became politicized in prison and actually genuinely so, and became involved from the prison. Yeah, brother Kwame Shakur Beans is a good example now that's alive. A brother became politicized in prison. So anyway, when we have a lot of that, prisons are breeding grounds for revolutionaries to come, to life, study it and putting in the situation like that. And what's happening is reason that you don't hear about POWs so much anymore, because we realize that the actual struggle through Jericho of trying to awaken the people to the fact that they are political prisoners, it became an arduous task to explain that they are political prisoners. So we started to kind of like homogenize the terminology of political prisoners and POWs, and just to get the attention and support of the people, which is still a grandiose task. You know, everywhere you go, classroom in college or whatever, you always got to start with political prisoner 101. We know everything, but we don't know that. Is a shame, but you know, that's how it is. All we can do is the best we can. So political prisoners, those that have been incarcerated because of their beliefs, political beliefs, and activism. POWs, one that's paramilitary actions against the government, and a politicized prisoner is that person that became educated and became revolutionary in prison. Those are basically the three categories as I understand it.
Okay.
Can I kind of add, because I think I'd also heard, right, Dequi, you saying just like outside of just that, I've heard folks who will say something along the lines of, well, any Black person in prison is a political prisoner because of the systemic injustices that we face as Black folks. So could you speak to that, and even like how that is not accurate?
Oh, you asking me? That's not accurate at all. You know, that's not accurate at all. Yeah, we are victims of our arrest may be political to a certain extent, you know, because we're being adjudicated by a racist prison system. But if you rape and kill somebody in the community, damn it, you're guilty, man. I don't care who found you guilty.
That's right.
So I don't buy into that, man. They can kiss my butt on that one. You can't put me in the category of somebody else that did a reprehensible crime against the community or some knucklehead stuff in our community and say they're a political prisoner. That's somebody that's trying to mellow out and put gray over everything and then end up doing nothing. No, you're not a political prisoner. You're not at all, in my opinion. You rape somebody, how dare you even say that? How dare you even say that? This is a legitimate question, but my answer is just straight like that. You're not a political prisoner. A lot of people in prison are a piece of shit.
Right.
So no, we ain't going there. That's my estimation. Somebody may try to say we're all like this, and you know daggone well, go out in the street and you know somebody snatching your grandmother's purse ain't no political prisoner. I don't care if the judge is a racist cracker. I don't care what he is. I know what you are. The situation may be political, but that's not a political prisoner. That's excavating. That's confusing the issue of who we are. So myself, that doesn't fly with a person named Jihad Abdul Mamid at all.
Thank you for that.
I might be the one. We might be the one trashing you. Right. We might be the ones taking.
It's a part of the history.
We might be the ones, Mr. Political Prisoner, rapist, drug dealer. We might be the ones trashing you because we had to sing death to the dope dealers, death to the pusher, Mr. Political Prisoner. So that question, I understand the question, but that ain't what's happening with me. Don't get it confused. Because so many knuckleheads in prison. If you haven't been in prison, sometimes you have a fake empathy about what prisoners are. Oh my God, look what they're doing to us. Go to prison and you tell me you better save your behind from getting raped by the brother next door. For all of us that's been in prison, we know what another prisoner is like. We know what our race is like. We know what our people are like. And they are far from being revolutionary. I can tell you that right now. And they ain't got nothing coming from Jihad Abdul Mamid. That's my answer.
No, thank you for that clarification, because of lack of political education, lack of historical context, people are being lumped into the category of political prisoners. And I, for one, being on this panel with you brothers that I love tremendously, my husband, Sekou Odinga, being a prisoner of war for 33 years, Albert Noah Washington, Abdul Majid, Bashir Hamid, all of those brothers who passed, who were murdered by medical neglect in those death camps. I believe that it is not only is it historically inaccurate, but it is an affront and an insult and a minimization of their life, their commitment, and their sacrifice, and the work that they did on the street. So I want to add, and I just needed to say that because I'm really offended. I'm really upset about so much of the lack of political education and historical accuracy that is dominating. And Jihad, you said a long time ago, when we are suffering because there is a lack of a movement. So people can say and do anything without any level of accountability. So Jaleel, you do you want to add anything to what Brother Jihad said?
Let me come after Akinsanya. I think Akinsanya has a few things he wants to say, so I'll come after him.
Cool. Thank you.
Well, I didn't get involved with the Panther Party as a teenager. I was 21 years old after I got out of the Marine Corps, and I was illiterate. I couldn't read or write, so that put me at a disadvantage. But in the party is where I learned to read and learned to develop a level of political consciousness. One of the first things that I did was to illustrate something they called the Black Panther coloring book. It wasn't illustrated to be a coloring book. It was just a history book for brothers like myself, sisters like myself, who were grown and could not read or write. I felt that a lot of the history that I learned when I was in Vietnam about slavery, slave rebellions, all that stuff I never knew anything about growing up. Nobody ever told me. I asked my grandparents about slavery. They said, that's in the past. You don't need to know about that. Nobody would tell me anything. I ended up in Vietnam, illiterate, and getting put down by some brothers in the Marine Corps who were scholars. And when they realized that many of us young brothers who were drafted could not read or write, they started having these soul sessions every Wednesday in the battalion. They get all the brothers and we'd sit down and listen to them, and they would give us history. And when they gave us this history, it made me feel good that Africans did rebel against slavery, because I never knew that. Once I learned about Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey, Gabriel Prosser, then I had a little sense of pride about myself of being an African, because we did fight against that, because I couldn't see myself submitting to slavery and not fighting against it. So once I learned this stuff, I felt that other young Africans need to know about this history. So that's what was in the coloring book. The so-called coloring book was this history of the slave rebellions and how the slave patrollers who used to go after slaves became or evolved into the police department. That's how our relationship is the same as it was.
Thank you for that breakdown. I think that's so key and so important, because they talk about the Black Panther Party being violent, but they don't talk about the violence of miseducation and the violence of poverty. So many people learned how to read in the Black Panther Party, right? With that newspaper and the PE classes. So thank you for sharing that, brother. Oh, Jaleel?
Yes, sis. There's a lot that's been said that I like to just to share my thoughts on. Jihad Abdul Muhammad is absolutely correct. Right? Everyone who goes into penitentiary is not considered to be a political prisoner, right? Although we understand that the prison system in and of itself is political. We understand the entire system is political. All decisions have been made, policies is made, regulations is made, legislation is made, it's political. So that also includes the Constitution of the United States. It's political. And therefore we understand that for us to not have an understanding of the system and how it functions and be subjected to it does not necessarily make you a political prisoner, right? The brother Akinsanya said that it was in the political party that he began to get an education. And as subject to his education, he had informed action, informed decision-making processes from which he be able to contribute to the struggle. Like the brothers and sisters in the streets on the block, right? They're not educated, right? Right? And so therefore, how can they make an informed decision that what the act they're committing is political? It's not. Okay. So for us, it's important to take note of that. Our political commitment is based upon the understanding that we engage in a political struggle, that we engage in war, right? And if you not have that understanding, then you cannot say that your action that you committed was for political reasons. And then therefore, if you're caught, then you're not necessarily a political prisoner. Also keep this in mind, right? And on the opposite end of that, politicized prisoners, right? So these individuals goes into prison, they become learned, they study, they become learned, and then their association with the system changes. They become political, right? And therefore they read the repression of their consciousness. Okay, you see what I'm saying? So what are they repressing? Repressing consciousness, right? A deliberate determination of one's belief in themselves and the goal of being future focused in their goals, objectives, in struggle, and how they can contribute to it. All right. So it's not until the prisoner inside becomes politicized and his relationship to the state changes as a result of being politicized, right, that he can be qualified, identified as political prisoners, as was the case with Comrade George Jackson, right, as was the case with the San Quentin Six, as was the case with Ruchell McGee, as was the case with Kwame Shakur, Lil Beams, okay, in Indiana, Terry Hope, all right, and many, many others. And so for us, it's important that we make that kind of distinction, right? That we have to understand that the become a political prisoner is mean that you become an educated person who is in opposition to the system. Okay, that's what makes you political, right? Not just you in the system and you just doing your time. That ain't making you political. All right. So it's important to understand that. Another thing that you stated, and important for us to understand, you said something about COINTELPRO, right? And a lot of people don't have any idea what COINTELPRO was about. I'm just going to read. I'm taking a few minutes here. I'm just going to read certain aspects of COINTELPRO from the February 29th edict or a memorandum law. We call it a memorandum letter from J. Edgar Hoover. 1, to prevent this coalition of militant black nationalist groups and effective coalition of black nationalist groups might be the first step to a real Mau in America and the beginning of a true black revolution. They don't want us to organize. They don't want us to become coalesced. They don't want us to build unity, right? So to prevent that. So divide and conquer is always going to be a means to keep us from not understanding who we are and the task before us. 2, prevent the rise of a messiah who could unify and electrify the militant black nationalist movement. Malcolm X may have been that messiah. He's the martyr of the movement today. They don't want to have a leader. Right? Every time we get a leader, they kill him. That's what they do. Right? Medgar Evers, right? Martin Luther King, George Jackson, they kill him. Right? And just as they kill us when we get organized in our community and building our base in our community. Okay? So they want to have leadership. 2, 3, right? Prevent the violence of black nationalist groups. Though counterintelligence should be possible to pinpoint potential troublemakers and neutralize them before they exercise their potential for violence. Do you hear what I just said? Right? Neutralize them means to kill, terminate, exterminate them before they even engage in any form of violence. Right? That means they're targeting us. They have been targeting us. That's what they did with Fred Hampton. Targeted. He never committed any violence. Right? They murdered him in his sleep. Okay. 4, to prevent militant black nationalist groups and leaders from gaining respectability by discrediting them in the separate segments of the community, right? You know, during the Black Panther Party, when we were organizing, right, they call us terrorists. They call us hoodlums. They call us, gangsters and so forth, to discredit us and the work that we're doing in our community so that we can have the kind of support base that we need to have from those who have resources, okay, particularly black resources, black bourgeoisie. Right? Divide and conquer. That's the game. And lastly, it said the final goal should be to prevent the long-range growth of militant black nationalist groups, especially youth. Right? Because they don't want us to train our children. They want them to remain to say deaf, dumb, and blind. Right? I was teaching a class in Attica, Black History class. It started from 1861, went on to 1966, talking about Black Panther Party. You know what they did? They locked the program down, approved program, locked it down. Right? Put me in the box for 4 months. Because I'm talking about the Black Panther Party. Right? And you know who I had in the class? JDs, right? Gangster disciples, Bloods, the Crips, and Nietas, gangsters. They said, well, you trying to teach them to be militant. Yeah, you damn right I was trying to teach them to be militant. That's the reason why they locked me up. Because you got to raise their consciousness, right? And build a base in the community, based in the prison system of activism. Okay, and educate them. And so this is what COINTELPRO did, and it destroyed our movement because they used divide and conquer, right, to denigrate our goals and objectives, right, and then prevent us from uniting with other forces. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Jaleel. I'm going to go to Ashanti, and I want to say that none of us, and this is for the people who are listening, who may not be clear, or may be doing that work of calling people political prisoners who are not. None of us knows what we don't know, and this is not about shaming people. This is about correcting misinformation, correcting the historical accuracy. And I think that because people want to do things, young people want to do things, and so, but you have to have the correct analysis, and you have to have a analysis why people are political prisoners. So I want to thank you for that, Jaleel. I want to ask Brother Ashanti, because we keep missing him because of all the difficulties he's having. This is live, and this is the state's technology. So it's just a miracle that we're even on. So from the 1970s until today, from the 1970s until today, there have been veteran members of the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army who have served a collective 900 plus years of political imprisonment. And we still have seven of them from the Black Liberation Movement held as political prisoners. Imam Jamil Al-Amin, Abdul Aziz, Kojo Bumani, Joseph Bowen, Mumia Abu-Jamal, Kioni-Sadiki, Kenny Zulu Whitmore. Can you talk a little bit about, while the state denies their existence, ignores their existence, what is it like to be a political prisoner? Ashanti, oh, see, he's gone again. All right, well, that's going to be, and even Brother Akinsanya, you were on death row for a year, right? So each of you can speak to that, right? Jaleel just kind of mentioned being targeted when he was teaching that class. So can you talk about, while on the outside they say that there are no political prisoners, what it's like being a political prisoner, being accused of quote killing a police officer inside behind the wall? We keep losing jihad.
Yeah, that was Sacramento County Jail, death row in the Sacramento County Jail, because I never was convicted of the murder.
Right.
But I did sit there for a year fighting the case. And I think that one of the things you got to realize is that the creation of the so-called Black Panther coloring book put me on COINTELPRO's list. COINTELPRO was trying to get anything to send me to the penitentiary. And once this coloring book came out, it was so powerful, the Panther Party denied they had anything to do with it and threw me under the bus. Like a good comrade, I fell on my sword, no problem. I don't deny creating the drawings for the coloring book. I don't deny that. I think that one of the things you got to realize is that the information that COINTELPRO puts out, a lot of it is to divide comrades against each other. This is the kind of thing that they did. And I think we got to be real careful, because they'll have Panthers suspecting other Panthers of being agents for the CIA or the FBI. And they tried to say that the person that did the coloring book was an FBI or CIA agent, which was not true. But that's the information that was out there, and I had to go all over the world defending my position. But people that knew me knew it wasn't true. So they understood all of that. So I think that even with the whole situation with the speech that Malcolm made in the 60s about the Mau Mau in Kenya, and he talked about the Mau Mau who were led by a brother named Dedan Kimathi Wachuru, and it was Jomo Kenyatta who allowed the British to execute him when they had captured Dedan Kimathi. They told Kenyatta that if they didn't allow them to execute Dedan Kimathi, the people was going to want Kimathi. Somebody got something?
No, Ashanti's having trouble with his technology. Yeah. That is so important what you said. Thank you.
And as you're speaking, Akinsanya, actually, so just this week, we studied some of the FBI papers of COINTELPRO and of their surveillance and their sowing seeds of dissension across chapters. And we actually came across one of this letter right here directly referring to their use of your coloring book as a tactic for their operation. So we have that on screen for folks to see, and wanted to highlight that, right, as Jalil was speaking, as you were speaking, that folks who are political prisoners and political prisoners of war are those who are really working against the system and who are also actively being targeted by the system.
Well, they tried to introduce the coloring book into evidence at my trial. Now, the witness they had against us, this person, had he said he saw me draw the coloring book, they would have been allowed to introduce it to the jury. But when they questioned him outside of the jury's presence, and they asked him, did he see me draw the coloring book? He said no, which is true. He did not see me draw it. But he could have easily said yes, because he was lying about every damn thing else. So the way I see that, had they been allowed to introduce that coloring book into evidence, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today. They would have definitely got a conviction.
Yeah. Or you'd have served some decades like these brothers here, right?
No, I don't think so. I think they would have executed me.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. We need to be smarter. You know, we have to study. We have to study for accuracy so that when we speak, we're speaking from a point of truth and historical context, right? So Ashanti keeps getting cut off, but Jihad and Jalil, the question was, because Jihad, you got cut off 4 times too. What is it like while they deny your existence? What is it like being a political prisoner inside?
Well, if you ever, I always reference Spook was Sat by the Door. There's a line in that movie and in the book, if you're familiar with it, when he said, when you get captured, you continue to do, just like Jalil has always said, organize, you continue to work and struggle. I didn't do all of that and get captured and expect to be famous. It was the furthest thing from my mind. As a matter of fact, I don't think it was until the book Hauling Up the Morning that came out in the mid-90s. And then when Jericho started, they picked me up. And it was a brother named Maury Salakan on Afia Foundation. You may know his name. That even started to speak about me in terms of being a political prisoner. So I'm saying I was an unknown person as far as the that scene goes. I was in the Panther Party as a teenager. My little crew, we ended up getting jammed for a bank robbery. Nobody knows us. It wasn't headline news anywhere. Nobody knows. We had to do, about 15 years just as like anybody else. But inside, we had probably the largest Black Liberation Army collective in any system at one particular time. Cisco Torres, Oscar Washington, Mark Holder, Ashanti is a brother that was on my crew named Stitch L. Davis, who we really don't know. He passed away during COVID. We had about 6 comrades there working out, training, political education and things, is always trying to escape. Of course, that was on the main part of the agenda. But nobody knew us, and we wasn't looking for no fame and no notoriety. There's no community movement builders. There's no Jericho movement. There was no anything to say, oh, that's who he is. And that was okay because we weren't celebrities. We were there to keep doing the work. And so, it's amazing. All of us that's done a lot of time, it's amazing how your brain can get into survival mode, and you'll survive that. You work amongst the other prisoners, forming classes. In the Muslim community, we did a tremendous job organizing the prisoners in all kinds of ways. And we don't have time to even go through it. I can write a book.
I hope you do.
Well, yes, indeed. I could be phenomenal. I can tell you that what we was able to do in Louisville Penitentiary. Anyway, but as a political prisoner, I never even put the name on myself, to be honest with you. That whole thing about political prisoners, that was Free Huey trial. That was the celebrity with Chicago. That wasn't my case. Free Jad with me. So I did my time like anybody else, constructively as I possibly could, work out, train hard. Very hard. Study, became a Muslim in prison, just pray a lot, and keep yourself together, eat healthy and strong so that you can be tight whenever the opportunity comes for you to either escape over the wall or be let out and continue to struggle. It's the unromantic side of it. So I hope anybody listening, I hope you don't go to prison, but prison is inevitable in the struggle, as Huey clearly put it out many times. And we know that if you ever go, that, you know, the struggle continues. You got to take care of yourself, eat right, train your body, and because tomorrow can open up for you really quickly, and you want to be ready for that tomorrow. So, and then you just got to survive. And it was like it was horrible. It was horrible. It was horrible in a prison, beat up by the guards, threatened by other prisoners, Aryan Brotherhood. It was horrible. If you really want to know, isolation for months and months and months. It wasn't in there like Maroon Schultz, but in the segregation unit for 18 months on 3 different occasions. I mean, there you go. Sit by yourself and read and do your push-ups. It's a horrible experience, but that's part of it. Our life is horrible. Gaza is horrible. Sudan is horrible. Congo is horrible. Mozambique is horrible. Haiti is horrible. Your community is horrible in many instances. So welcome to horrible.
Woo. Thank you, Brother Jihad, for invoking all these struggles that people are dealing with. Thank you. I know Sekou did 19 years in solitary confinement, and the stuff that, you know, that people talk about, like, people really just, it's just, you can't even name it all. Jaleel, you want to jump in there?
Yes. My situation is a little bit different from Jihad, right? Because when I came into prison, I came at a time where there was a lot of activism, particularly in California prison, right? I came into prison where I ran into comrades, members of the Black Guerrilla Family, right? BGF, right? I was held in the Adjustment Center, along with Rochelle McGee sitting on one side of me and the cell next side of me, and Charlie Manson on the other side of me, and San Quentin 6 down the gallery. We had Geronimo Pratt upstairs, along with Billy Harris and Russell Little from the SLA. So when I came in, it was jumping. We was organizing inside prison, right? And so for me, I never took a break in terms of my organizing, right? I organized the first national newspaper prison newspaper called Army Spirit. Organized the first petition was held in the United Nations. Actually recorded the United Nations while I was in prison. Initiated the National Jericho movement, of which Jihad was a tremendous leader of the Jericho movement, and really built the movement out. Myself, Sophia Asa Bukhari, and Baba Herman Ferguson Presente. I'm the last living member of the original founder of the Jericho. Right. As a result of that, we had international jurists come to the United States, investigate political prisoners that exist in the United States. I made a request to Jihad while I was in Southport. Said we need to bring international jurists back, right? And Jihad said, "Yeah, bro, we can bring them back, but we're gonna do a little differently." And he got in contact with your husband, Sekou Odinga, and Matt Myers, and they established the International Tribunal on genocides. Right, as a result of this request I made of Jihad to bring international jurists back, and that's what we're doing now. So for me, it's a little bit different. I never stopped organizing, never stopped getting engaged, never stopped seeing how I might be able to contribute to our overall struggle. Recognizing as I went into the prison system, I knew they changed the terrain, but the war continued. Right, and so that was my young, infantile, but brash and rambunctious attitude about the struggle and my engagement in it. So that's my contribution while I was in prison. I never stopped recognizing that my incarceration, my imprisonment, and not saying that anyone else did, right, required me to be able to re-engage and see where I can contribute. And as you had also stated, how I can get the hell up out of there, because I had also had five escape attempts. None of them was successful, but believe me, BLA, BPP, we try to get up out of them spots for certain. That's our goal, okay? So, yeah, I can tell you a story about Asylum, but that's a different story altogether about that. But, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Mel so she can add some, she can ask questions.
Yeah, I mean, appreciate it. All the insight so far. Folks in the audience, also, if y'all want to start throwing some questions into the chat, the comments, we're looking at them. So definitely down to pull in some of those questions. I would love to hear from y'all, right? As a young organizer, someone still new to the game. I see Ashanti's coming on. So if he is here, I'm going to give him space first. But would love to hear from y'all if you can talk about like what is important for us to know, right? Who are organizing now, who are young revolutionaries, young activists, about first, like how can we best support political prisoners of war? And not just while they're imprisoned, but both before they are incarcerated, right? Folks who are moving in certain ways, as well as after they are released and after they come home.
Shanti, you with us?
Shanti, can you hear us?
Here's that damn StreamYard again.
Dropping some links to Shanti's
I
talk.
think that'd be an extra question for Jihad to answer. He has been working in over 15 years in support of in an organized fashion, an organized capacity, in support of our political prisoners. And I think his experience is necessary for us to hear from.
Thank you, Mr. Co-host. I love you, Jaleel. Yes, brother Jihad, can you answer that question?
Right.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jaleel. And just as listening to Jaleel talk, I just want to let him know that his experience in prison is really neat to be, which I'm sure it is being captured in many ways, so unique and powerful, because the things that he was able to organize and bring into fruition from behind the prison bars is to me is really phenomenal. So I salute my comrade, I really do. It's not taken for granted. And then to come home after doing a half a century and still be so critically involved. So I just say, take care of your health, comrade. You're invaluable. But to answer the question, I learned a lot by being the chairperson of Jericho. I went from a lot of hurrah and rallies and protests, which is, mind you now, is very important. So listen carefully to what I said. So everything I said is not to negate what I've said previously in this little spiel right here. The demonstrations are very important to raise the level of consciousness of the people about political prisoners and who we are and how they can help. All of our letter writings and the proliferation of organizations these days, where in the beginning, when 1998, when Jericho was established, there was very few, I don't know who else was doing that type of work. I was still inside though. But I learned that as chairperson, to really get somebody out of prison, along with the PE, to raise the level of consciousness amongst the people, but really what gets somebody out of prison is cash money, a good lawyer, and being very focused on their case, the legalities of their case. Unfortunately, in my opinion, from my vantage point, the movement is not strong enough we demand the release of Leonard. You didn't demand any. I mean, who's listening to that? You think your demand resulting in Leonard getting released? If you think that, then you're really romanticizing this. There's a lot of backdoors and phone calls that I am privy to that led to Leonard Peltier's release. It didn't have too much to do with one single demonstration. I can tell you that right now. So the parole support committee with Jaleel and the legalities of his case, and him getting a judge that's going to tell the parole board that whatever you deny him on, you can't keep doing the same thing. Oops. There you go. They shot their last bullet, the last parole hearing. So now there's no reason to keep Jaleel Mutakeen incarcerated. I pay attention, and I know Dequi can attest to this. Sundi Alakoli, the lawyer Bruce Afrin, on the phone call that many of us was on that phone call, that lawyer doing the legal work and appealing his parole decision. He said, whatever y'all do, don't let nothing about political prisoners creep into this legal work, because he'll never come home. You can take it for whatever you want. And the bill for him was $30,000. Put your money where your mouth is. That's what I've learned from being in Jericho. So number one, just to recap real quick, political education is powerful and necessary for the well-being and health of our political prisoners, the protection of them when the guards know that they have that support, you know, and you never know, the movement can grow strong enough when we, along with other facets of our movement, infrastructure building, networking, becoming stronger, so that when we say we demand this, we can put that demand on politicians and pro boards and judges and whoever else it needs to be put on. But I recognize what the tip of a spear look like when it comes to getting brother so-and-so out of prison. You know, and you mentioned Abdul Aziz and a few black political, and the remaining of the Virgin Island brothers, they just got, Malik just won a petition in court where they're allowed to go to front of the pro board. These are legal things. We're trying to work a racist judicial system to be able to get out on many, many ways to get out of prison through this system, you know. So that's what I've learned. I learned political prisons and political education is important. The rallies and demonstrations and all of that, they play a role, and then we need to support the mental health, well-being, and physical health of our prisoners when they're in there, support family visits and all these other type of things, and build our movement. But right now, 2025, you want to get a brother or sister out of prison, have some cash money, get a good lawyer that's going to work with you, get the third-party medical assistance, make sure his health is in order, and work that legal angle along with everything else, that legal angle, because after the strongest protest, it's still going to have to end up on some judge's desk or some parole officer's desk, some parole board's desk. That's where the decision is going to be made, you know? And so that's what I learned being the chairperson of Jericho. So now my role is to be a revolutionary administrator. I know if I don't know Comrade Kamal Franklin's on the call, but listen, I know he probably laughing. The revolutionary administrator, how much goes behind the paperwork, behind everything we do to keep it financed and buoyed up, to make it work, to make it, you know, one thing that we don't have a lot now in our movements. Every Black Panther chapter had an office, a physical structure, OD, officers on duty there. You know, we don't even have that stuff. The internet took over that. We just meet on Zoom meetings. We don't have enough of that, you know. So I mean, that's another thing. I kind of veered off, so a little bit of ADD there, but yeah, that's what I learned as the chairperson. So, but the good thing about it, and Jericho is playing a major role trying to network with the organizations that exist. Many of the prisoners have their own support committees. We're behind them. We don't have to be at the vanguard. We're not saying, hello, we're doing this. Matter of fact, you don't have to give us credit for doing anything. But we will give you the money to help you do it. You can believe that. Jericho will give you the money to help you do it. It will give you the money when a brother and sister comes home. It will give you the money, because that's what we know is important to have in this movement. So, but we see the need to network organizations that's doing political prisoner work, and hopefully maybe, I know, Jalil, I'm dropping this out there right now ahead of time before our little retreat, but you know, that we want to try to have a conference amongst those organizations that deal specifically with political prisoners to see how we can network ourselves into a stronger unity piece to share resource information and so forth, so that we don't have to be waving our own individual flags about what we did. And it's like a flea biting the elephant's ass.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, thank you for that, brother Jihad. I think that you give us good medicine, right? I always tell people, my grandmother used to say when she would line us up every Sunday night to give us that stuff to clean us out, she'd be like, I don't give it to you because it's good to you. I give it to you because it's good for you. And so sometimes this is one of the things I love and appreciate about you, is that you speak that truth. And it may not always be what people want to hear or like to hear, but they do need to hear it, right? Because it is a lot of things that go into it. You know, like Abdul Majid, who is one of our ancestors, a decades-long political prisoner, he always said, freedom ain't free and it don't come cheap. And so we live in a capitalist system. So yeah, people need lawyers. People need, when they come home, who used to always say, we come home and we don't have anything. So how are we supporting people? So thank you for saying that. I don't know.
Shanti. Ashanti, can you hear us? Do you read us? Come in. All right, Ashanti, I'm going to just say, come off mute and say some things. Whatever's on your mind, whatever's on your heart, we would love to hear from you.
Sing that old Temptation song you like, Ashanti.
Take yourself off mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Let's go. Oh, no, you might want to turn off your screen, though. If you turn off your screen, keep your audio on, we might be able to hear you better.
I don't listen. The connection is really bad.
Oh, we're hearing you clear now, though.
Come off mute.
Turn the camera off. Maybe the connection will get better.
I'm going to.
We can hear you for a second.
Nope.
Okay, can I add to what something that you had made mention?
Yes, please.
Right. For those who want to support political prisoners, right, it's important for them to get in contact with an organization in order to do so, right? At least try to get in contact with an organization. I don't know if it's put in the chat, but someone please put in the chat, thejerichomovement.com, right, so people know where to get in contact with us, right? But second of all is this, right? RPPs and political prisoners, we don't have a Social Security, right? We don't have veterans benefits. We don't have anything when we come out of the penitentiary. Nothing, right? We come out bare ass, right? Coming out of prison. And so we have to depend upon the organizations and our people to support us and try to help us acclimate back in society. Okay. As a comrade said, freedom ain't free, right? We're up against billionaires who are fighting against us. Right? Racist as billionaires in the White House, 13 billionaires in the White House. We don't live in a democracy no more. We live in a plutocracy. Money rules. Rich rules. And so for us to be free, we got to get our act together in regards to our finances, right? And how we're getting organized. Second thing that Jihad talked about, discipline, right? He's talking about being the administrator, revolutionary administrator, right? We have to organize ourselves in a capacity where we have people function in specific categories doing specific tasks, right? And build an organization, right? We're up against corporations, national and international entities who, for the most part, are supporting of genocides. They support genocides. The Confederates now control this country. These are people who believe in genocide and they believe in enslaving people, right? So we have to get organized. So if you want to support political prisoners, get in that organization that supports political prisoners. You want to support political prisoners, come up with some money, right? We have a bank account, right? We're supported by the fiscal sponsor, right? You can get a tax deductible contribution, right? Go to Jericho Movement, right? I'll go to the Northeast Political Prisoners Coalition, another organization, right? And learn about our political prisoners and how you can support them. Well, as importantly, right, we have to have organizational structure, right? And we got to have financial support. Thank you.
I think the
community builders. We also have, and we'll drop it in the chat in a second, a Black Panther Party Veterans Mutual Aid Fund, which is particularly used to support Black Panther former members of the party, right? We especially make sure that we are sharing funds with former prisoners, former political prisoners, to support their current day living expenses, especially knowing that a lot of those who have fought for revolution, I see the comment in the chat, right? The question was, is there a way for us to do the work and also to be able to survive financially, right? And I think, right, the realities of the situation have been that a lot of folks in our movement historically and present day are putting in a lot of work, full-time job levels of work, to do things that don't get you a salary package, that don't get you a 401k, that don't get you a retirement plan. And so with our Black Panther Party Mutual Aid Fund, that is our way of being able to support those who have really fought for the movement for years and years and don't necessarily have that financial stability or that financial package to show for it.
Yeah, and I would also like to add the national the Black Panther, the National Alumni Association of the Black Panther Party. They do that work as well. They do a film festival. This year is 17 years, and it is about supporting. They raise money every year to send inside to our political prisoners. And you know, Sekou has been a beneficiary. Someone came home November 25th, 2014, after 33 and a half years. He has been the recipient and the beneficiary of those different funds. So I speak from a position of experience to say that those things matter, right? And he was always very determined and clear when we would go around the country speaking that people who come home after decades have nothing and they need everything. So thank you for people who are doing that work. And it's just a reminder that everybody's not going to do the same thing, but everybody can do something. Some people can do $5 a month just to sustain the work, $10 a month, whatever you feel comfortable doing financially is definitely a blessing and definitely helpful. So yeah, that's the National Alumni Association. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that, Mel. So, okay, Mel, do you have another question you want to ask? Because I don't want to just.
I see a question in the chat that I would love to uplift if folks are cool with that. Someone has asked, how do we distinguish organizations that are the most effective in the mission of Black liberation? And they're saying that they came across a Black Panther party in their neighborhood with no concept of a united front. I'm very familiar with this. I think I know there are spaces and places that are using the name of the Black Panther Party to identify their work. And curious, I know, Jaleel, you talked a little bit about discipline, but if you could share a little bit more about how are we able to distinguish the organizations that are really effective in the mission of Black liberation?
I'd like to defer to my brother Akinyaya. Akinsanya. Perhaps he can share his thoughts on that.
Well, I think you have to investigate the organization and see what they stand for. I've seen a lot of organizations claiming to be Panthers all over the country, but you have to look at the ideology of the Panther Party and find out if they're trying to build socialism, find out what they are and who they are and what they're trying to do. COINTELPRO is not dead. They're still out, they're still working, and they're still creating things to distract us from our struggle. This is what they're doing. So you just have to kind of be observant and watch and see and ask questions. When you talk to people who are in these organizations, question them, ask them about what they believe in, what they're fighting for, you know?
And you know what? The Black Panther Party of the 1960s and 70s was crushed, right? So there is no Black Panther. There is no Black Panther Party. People are continuing the work. And one of the things you can see is, as Brother Akinsanya said, what work are they doing? If you call yourself the Black Panther Party, where are your programs that address the material needs of the people? Are you feeding people? Do you have cop watch? Are you assisting elders? Are you preventing mothers from being evicted? Are you taking people to prison to visit loved ones? What are you doing that's serving the people? Because that's what the Black Panther Party did, serve the people. Anybody can attach a name. And we have to be clear. The Black Panther Party, people were driven into exile, assassinated, put in prison, and emotionally traumatized, right? PTSD. So there is no more Black Panther Party, right? So let's be clear about that. But I love what you said, brother, right? Investigate. No study and investigation, no right to speak. Do the homework. Find out what people are doing. It's good to want to do something, but you got to be careful because there are vultures out there. There are opportunists out there. There are revisionists out there. And there are people that are performance artists.
It's more than just putting on a black leather jacket and grabbing a gun. That's not what it is. You got to do some studying. You got to do some research. You got to study history. You got to know something about history. And you got to make sure that you don't make the same mistakes that we made in the past. You show me a person who makes no mistakes, and I'll show you a person who does absolutely nothing.
Their lives are testament to that. Thank you for that, brother.
Let me also share some thinking in regards to that. I see you laughing, Jihad. Wait a minute, Jihad, you want to go? Go ahead, man. Jihad, you want to go? I guess not. Okay. And let me just share some thinking in regards to that. In as much as we like to maintain the sanctity and the purity of the original Black Panther Party, the name Black Panther Party, I don't know if anybody really owns that, right? What we have to preserve is the history and the legacy of resistance that represents the Black Panther Party. Okay, there's going to be generational. Every generation got to find their course of history. Is that correct?
Yes.
So if they can take the name Black Panther Party, right, and maintain that legacy of resistance, why do we have a problem with that? Because it's not the name, it's the work. Now, if they're taking the name and not doing the work, then that's problematic.
That's why it's problematic.
That's the reason why it's problematic, because they're bastardizing the name. Okay, but there are a few who are accepting the name, trying to maintain that legacy of resistance, right, and also developing programs in the community. Okay, so that's where I draw the line, right? Right, as a brother Akinsanya say, what is your program? Right, what are you building? Okay, because it's not the name, it's the work. All right, so let's not get caught up in the name. Although we want to preserve that legacy of struggle, of resistance, we want to preserve that. Okay, and we're doing so by this kind of work and writing our biographies and so forth and so on, which is important. But from generation to generation, that name might be changed to Kitty Cat Organization. Okay, and building all across the country. Okay, so it's not the name, it's the work. So let's not get caught up on that, right? If they're not doing the work, then we got a problem with their opportunism, right? And they need to be challenged on that. That you can't represent Black Panther Party or the name Black Panther Party, and you're not doing the work. So that's where we have to hold the line.
Right. So I think this is something that I really appreciate hearing from y'all. And again, as a young organizer with Community Movement Builders neighbor program based out in Oak Park in Sacramento, I think this is something our organization comes up against a lot is seeing other spaces where folks might be uplifting certain values or uplifting certain, oh, we're doing self-determination or we're doing program building or we're doing resistance, right? And a lot of it is not necessarily that. And I think more recently, what I've seen, right, we are in Black August, and I've seen a emergence, I think, especially with the era of technology, kind of a liberalization of radical and revolutionary principles continues. I've seen folks who are now privy to Black August and are kind of beginning to treat it as Black History Month Part 2, as a moment for us to celebrate Blackness and be joyful and have right parties and uplift ourselves, which again, I'm not against any of those things, but I think that it is very important for folks to hear from you all. What is Black August, right? How is it distinct from a Black History Month or any other commemoration or joyful space, right, of celebration or liberalization that Black folks might engage in? And what does it mean to you all?
One of the things that I would like to say is I would like to mention the name of Micah Johnson and Gavin Long. I don't know if you even remember those two brothers, but that was in 2016. And I spoke on them in Oakland when I was there. And the reason I spoke on them is because these were two military veterans. One was in the Marine Corps, one was in the Army. And when the police killed Orlando Castile and all these people they were killing, and these brothers with their combat experience, and I'm quite sure they were both suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. And they went on one, and they killed some police officers in Texas and I think it was Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And when this happened, everybody said, "Oh, don't mention their names."
Mm.
And I brought them up at the 50th anniversary, and I said, "Well, you know, to me, what they did was in the spirit of the Black Panther Party, because nobody else was doing anything. They was killing us every day, and nobody said nothing or did nothing." When I said that, everybody shut me down, but I still believe that. And I think when there's brothers who do something like that, you got to understand where them cats was coming from. They were military veterans. They had fought in Afghanistan and Iraq. And I think they were on automatic pilot. And that kind of happens to some of us who experience PTSD. That can happen to you. And you're not even present, but you react militarily in a combat situation just like you're on the battlefield. And you're not even present. You just on automatic pilot. That's what that is.
Thank you for that, brother. Thank you for that. Our history of resistance has a way, everything about being Black and New African has been watered down. So I really do, and marginalized and erased. Jihad or Jalil, you want to add something about Black August and it being watered down and commodified? And
Yeah, I think it's very important that we understand the origins of Black August, right? A lot of people talk about Black August, but they have not give credit to its origins. Its origin came out of San Quentin prison, right? It came out of the prison system in California, right, with the Black guerrilla family. Black guerrilla family was organized by William Christmas, James McLean, and George Jackson back in the days, right? Black August is based upon the killing of August 7th, 1970, of Jonathan Jackson, the killing of August 21st, 1971, of Comrade George Jackson, the killing on August, I think 12th, 1973, of Qatari Golden, right? Jeffrey Golden, Qatari Golden, right? And at that point in time, as the brother on the inside decided we have to figure out ways how to give recognition, right, to these soldiers, to these guerrillas, to these Black liberation activists and liberationists, okay? And they decided that they're going to move and build a base from which we can organize and support of not only the remembrance of their resistance coming out of the prison movement, coming out of the prison system, but extend it into the community in terms of studying, exercise, fasting, right, and training, okay? We have to do those things, okay? And so for us, it's important to note that it is more than just a question of Black August being open for Black History Month, as Mel says that she's been hearing, right? It is a time for us to reflect on resistance, right? Coming out of the prison system. And what the contributions those brothers had given. James Carr is another individual that people don't like to talk about, right? Was another individual who's helped organize BGF back in the days. Okay, and so the Black guerrilla family, and so it's important for us to give credit where credit is due, right, and not lose the origins of something so important to our struggle, right? That provides us another impetus for discipline, impetus for study, impetus for fasting, impetus for training. All right, so that's important for people to understand. And if they're going outside of that, then again, like those people who were talking about the Black Panther Party, then they need to be charged up for the failure to adhere to the discipline of the origins of these organizations and these movements. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Jihad's coming in. While we're waiting for him to come in, I just want to say, oh, okay, there's Jihad. Jihad, you want to add something about Black August, brother? I don't know if he can hear us. Shake your head if you can hear us, Jihad.
Can you hear us yet?
No.
I can now. Y'all all disappeared. So you want me to answer the Black August question? I agree with what all the other comrades up here have said. But just to make sure, like it's the celebration may not be the right word. Honor of the more militant struggles for our freedom. And brothers already spoke to the origin of it, but it's also self-reflection, an opportunity for us to re-energize, reboot, and hopefully it carries us through another 12 months of struggle. So we're educating ourselves, we're training our bodies, we are fasting, we are meditating, we're praying, we more intentional, we're making commitments, and that's how I think we should be using Black August, educating ourselves, and it's getting a little more momentum. It probably start to be commercialized eventually, but whatever we can do to educate our people and ourselves is a good thing at this point.
Thank you. And I just want to, I appreciate what you all have said, but I do want to say what's in a name, right? Names and language is important. If people say Black Liberation Army, they know what that means.
I don't know if you caught the last, but that was my comment.
Yeah. Yes, I did, about you saying it being commercialized. Eventually, it'll probably be commercialized, right? What's in a name? No, I reject that. I love you, Jaleel, but I reject that, right? There was the Underground Railroad during enslavement. Nobody calls themselves the Underground Railroad, right? There's Kwanzaa. They don't take that, right? So we don't have to trademark it. That's some corporate capitalist bullshit about trademarking stuff. But there is a reason why names exist. When I joined the Black Panther Collective, that was made up of veteran members of the Black Panther Party, it was not called the New Black Panther Party. It was not called Black Panther Party 2. It was called the Black Panther Collective. So I love you, I respect you, but I definitely disagree. I think that language and naming is important.
I can appreciate that, sis. Right? We have a difference of opinion in regards to how that plays out, and it's all good. Let me say something about that. Right? It's important for us to have a difference of opinion, right? And for us to have these kind of open discussions. When we have difference of opinion. Unfortunately, for many in our struggle, they take it personal, right? It's no longer political; it's personal. Right, and then they get the ego get involved, right, and then it destroys relationships, right. We should have differences of opinion and understanding and be able to discuss and share without becoming
getting later in the
antagonistic,
night. Harder for me,
right, without any animosity being
harder for me to.
Jihad, we hear you.
You're off mute.
Can you hear us, Jihad?
Hear anything?
All right.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you for that, Jaleel. Go ahead. We lost him.
Okay. So yes, you have to correct. Names and words have meaning. That's right. But you know what? Words and meaning, they change in time, right? Okay. And so we cannot be so calcified, right, in our thinking that we cannot change, okay, or that we cannot evolve. All right. And for us, the next generation, I don't know what's going to be the next generation of the major fight back or resistance movement, okay, but we have to be prepared for that and be able to be open to that. All right. And so I'm beholden to my experience as a veteran member of Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army, right? But I'm not going to hold that against the young people who may evolve and change based upon the social conditions and the struggle that we engaged in. Say, well, y'all can't do that because my history, my legacy, and what I was going through in my discipline. All right. So We have a difference of understanding in terms of names, right? But these names are mutable, okay? And it's important for us to, for me, it's my understanding of that they are in fact mutable.
Thank you, brother.
To make sure that we're present, just in case young people need any guidance or anything that we can give them based on our experience for dealing with some of these same things. And I think we have to be open for dialogue. We have to discuss things. We have to talk about it. There's a whole lot of things that happen that we never talked to anybody about. How Jonathan Jackson was set up, you know, that was cold. And I think that had people been communicating with each other and discussing that, we would know the work that COINTELPRO did to set that brother up.
Right.
See? And a lot of people don't know that. And I think that has to be a discussion.
Oof. You said it all right there. There's so much, like, we can't romanticize it. We can't glamorize it. We got to tell the truth, you know, tell no lies, claim no easy victories. It's like what you said about you being dropped from, you know, the Panther Party didn't support you when you were arrested and charged with that police murder. The Panther 21 were expelled from the Black Panther Party. Geronimo Pratt was expelled from the Black Panther Party. We got to talk about those things so that people understand that, you know, you can't just gloss over. Like, there was good things that happened, and then there was a period of time when some things changed, and there were reasons for it, and we have to be mindful and watch and learn and study. So thank you for that, for saying that. These things are painful and ugly, but you can't just tell the nice parts. You got to talk about the parts that were the mistakes, that were some of the shortcomings and the weaknesses. So that is much appreciated, brother.
And be careful how you dub somebody agent. Be careful, because a lot of people were accused of being agents that weren't.
And they were killed. That's right.
They were killed. Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
You got to be real careful with that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So on that note, right, I think again, and I'm sure a lot of organizers in the chat would love to hear, what are some of those lessons that y'all have to share with young activists and revolutionaries? What are mistakes that y'all made? What are things that y'all would do differently? What are things that y'all want to share with us in terms of how we should be thinking and how we should be moving in our work?
Don't everybody answer at once.
Yes, that's you too, sis, though.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
solo parenting now. Solo moderating.
Okay.
And Mel, give me the question again.
Yeah, I would love to hear just advice. What advice do you have to share with young organizers and revolutionaries? What lessons have you learned from your work, from the mistakes you've made, whatever it may be? What do you have to share with us?
Okay. I'm gonna do a selfless plug here. On September 9th, September 9th, I will be, September 3rd, I'll be starting a national book study of my book, We're All Liberators. And there's a lot in there that we can learn lessons from, okay? Because that's what I try to do with the book. I try to interject, right, lessons learned so that we know how to build moving forward. One of the things we have to understand is some of the major principles in terms of struggle. One, combat liberalism, right? Combat liberalism. We cannot have liberalism in our struggle, right? We cannot be liberal in our struggle. Our enemy is not liberal about taking us out, right? We cannot be liberal in terms of our work and our relation with the masses. Two, a great handling of contradictions. Right? We have to have the better approach in terms of how we handle our contradictions and resolve them. Right? Failing that is basically shooting ourselves in the foot. Okay. Three, from the masses to the masses. Right? Understand what the masses' needs are. Right? And go to the masses. Do that canvassing. Do the door knocking. Right? Get out there and organize. Talk to the people. One thing was important about the Black Panther Party. We had the Black Panther Party newspaper. Right? Black Panther Party newspaper. We printed out 250 copies in the Black Panther newspaper every month. Right? Every month, 250,000 copies. shipped across the country. And you imagine how many hands it went through, how many hands it went to from hand to hand. It reached over 1 million people. That was our means for us to reach into the community. We had Panthers on the corner, sending the newspaper and talking to people. So we have to be that kind of engagement from the masses to the masses. So those are 3 things that I would say that needs to be dealt with, right? Correct handling of contradictions, right? Combat liberalism, right? From the masses to the masses. And thirdly, right? Start political education classes. We got to have political education classes because we have to continue. That is not a static. That is dynamic. Okay, it's not a one-off. It's an everyday. Okay, we have to study and begin to organize classes and raise people's consciousness every day. Right. Note that we have uneven development in our political consciousness across the country. Okay, some people on a higher level, some people on a lower level. Right, and we have to understand who are we dealing with at the level they're on, where they're at. Right, not where we want them to be, but where they're at. Right, and then raise their levels to the level where we hope that they will seek to achieve. Okay, so that's part of the course as well. Right, meeting people where they're at. Right, from the masses to the masses. Liberalism. We can't have liberalism in our struggle. Right, and also the correct handling of contradictions. Right, so those are the 4 things that I would introduce at this point. Right, based on further discussion, I might add a few more. But right now, off the top of my head, those are the 4. Thank you.
Brother Akinsanya?
The primary thing I think is that we need to listen to young people. We need to pay attention to them and listen with a receptive ear because things have changed tremendously. Mm-hmm. And their reality is a lot different than ours. And we got to pay attention. Everything is not like it was in the 60s, 70s. So we need to pay attention. We need to listen with a receptive ear.
Okay. Brother Jihad, thank you for that, brother. Mel asked the question about what would your message be? What would you want to say to younger activists?
Prepare. This is a long range struggle. You're not going to win tomorrow. Like my brother just said, listening to young folks, because it's not the same conditions. As a matter of fact, this is extremely complicated.
Yeah,
it's not like Burkina Faso, a few ethnic. It's nothing like this here in the United States with 343 plus million people. So diverse, social media off the chain. Your voice just goes into the den of many, many. It's not the same as the old days. So the old day thing is not going to work at all. So as Jalil said earlier, you're just going to have to entrust that younger folks, relative younger, however you want to define younger, but what are their ideas? I don't romanticize the struggle. So I would say my strongest advice for everybody, I am a Muslim, and my focus has changed from the days that I was 16. So whatever I do is for Allah, my creator. That means whatever the people do, win, lose, or draw, that's where my accountability lies, myself. So whatever a person believes in, make sure you're spiritually grounded. So you won't be crying the blues when you go to prison or when somebody dies, or if we can even handle whatever what's happening to Gaza, to our own people here in the United States. We won't be on panic. We won't be this, and so embrace the person that you love that's next to you and make sure your relationships are true. I take it on a very smaller level because it's everybody's got a thing going on now. It's not like the Panthers, Black Panther Party. You could probably name about maybe a good 6 or 7 other organizations back then. Now you got you got so many organizations. I mean, forget about it, man. How many people on this call now? I mean, forget about it like that. So I don't know what's going to happen in this country to really bump it up further than what has happened. But don't become disillusioned. Ground yourself spiritually. Whatever you believe in, I hope it's something. If you have any victories, I hope you are able to embrace it. Even with the question of Black August, it's not about Black August. It's about September 1st. What the hell are you doing now? What you want to do the day after? You know, how did it actually change your life? And this is what I look like at myself. So it takes the frustration of winning and losing out of my mind, because I think that victory is only going to come through the Creator anyway. That's my belief as a revolutionary, and I'm very strong on that point. You know, whatever the Creators, they say there's a saying in Arabic, wa makaru wa makarullah wallahu khairu makirin. They say man plans, that's us, and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. And I think our plans is pretty much shit. We just do the best that we can. No, I'm just speaking real truth. You know, if we're so like that, we would be so much further than we are right now. Here I am, 70. I got gray, but you don't know, because I went to Walmart and dyed it. So there you go.
Yeah, Walmart can
Well, thank you, Jihad.
Man, be spiritually grounded and,
Yes.
and have whatever your faith is. Make sure you cling to it. Even with the victory, you don't become corrupted by it. As you can look at Africa and see what happened. I'm here in Africa, by the way, and I have a different type of news here. And we don't realize the opportunities we have to make something better, because it's just not really bad enough for us. We may think it is, but you go somewhere else and you're going to see what bad really is. And bad really hasn't happened. Trump putting troops in the streets in DC. Who cares, man? What you doing? What you going to do about it? We ain't building nothing. What are you going to do about it? So what? The dogs is in the street. Go listen to Gil Scott-Heron's poem. Jose Campos Torres is dead, and the dogs they've been in the street. We ain't got no plan. No overall plan. You're going to protest one thing after another. So what I say is ground yourself spiritually and keep doing what you do. And then it's almost like lighting a fire in the woods. One day it's going to catch on, you know, but it won't be tomorrow. I doubt it.
Thank you.
And that's when I don't want to sound romantic. It's not romantic. You know, my back hurts and all of that. Them jumping off the roof of days is over. As far as that question in the beginning, look at our Black folks that we are representing. And you have a lot of answers. I ain't talking about the few revolutionaries in the room. I'm talking about our people, man.
Yeah.
The long struggle. And I hope you young sisters and brothers that are listening can ground yourself spiritually so that you can weather the day. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to your neighbors. Don't be mean. And be forgiving, but be peaceful. Those are the kind of like personal advices I give to I hope it's resonating with everybody. I don't have no revolutionary plan. If I had a revolutionary plan, then I must have kept it to myself for a long time, because that shit ain't working. Yeah, and end of any program. What done, and everybody raises their hand what they think should be done. They said, "Oh, I could be real sarcastic." I said, "Well, that shit, how's that working for you, man?"
Right. Well, let me thank you, brothers. I want to add, because you asked me, Mel. I think that going back to it takes a village. Going back to talking to the people, as what was said about talking and listening, right? But meeting people, building relationships, right? Not just getting together with people when you go to a meeting, but getting to know people. What are you doing to find out about people, to learn and to support each other? And I also think that it's important for people to think about, what are they willing to commit to? What are they willing to sacrifice? If it's time, if it's money, whatever it is, right? What you're willing to sacrifice, what you're committed to. Do what you say you're going to do, right? Go into meetings. If you say you're going to go, be there, right? If you say you're going to do something, do it. So building relationships, and also doing some criticism and self-criticism, right? Understand that none of us are perfect. We're all learning and growing at the same time. What Jihad said about people being at different stages of our development, nobody woke up a revolutionary. People grew into that, right? But we must study and learn, right? And read. Every one of the people that were that got involved in revolutionary struggles, they read, so that they can see what people were doing around the world and in this country. You can't be a revolutionary if you're not reading, because how are you gonna sustain? It's not enough to be angry. Like Jihad said, protests have a place, but what's going to sustain you're organizing, you're being committed, you're sacrificing, right? Political prisoners, what sustained them, one of the things that sustained them, of course, is their faith, right? Jihad, Sekou, Abdul, Majid, Bashir, Jalil, they were all Muslims. So that sustained them. But it also, Noah, right? But it's also, when I asked Noah more than 30 years ago, how was he able to do that time? Because he passed a long time ago, right? More than 20 years ago. He said, I know why I'm here. So his revolutionary politics is what sustained him, right? Not just being angry at something. So we have to do, it's a lot. It's not one thing. It's like that gumbo. It's a bunch of different things. And I always say this to young people when I speak to them. Everybody's not going to do the same thing, but everybody can do something. You find what it is that you can do and commit to that, and how you can be involved in a sustainable way. Because that's the buzzword these days, sustainability. What's going to sustain you in this work? Because it is a protracted struggle from one generation to another.
Ashe. Appreciate all of y'all. And yeah, thank you, sis. I know someone had said something about definitely wanting to hear from the sisters, right? That is a voice that often gets lost in a lot of these conversations. I saw Ashanti in the chat. We see you, we love you. I know Ashanti and I were talking a couple weeks ago, even about the representation of sisters on this panel specifically. And I was really hoping that we could get to hear him speak a little bit more on that. But for folks who are not familiar with Ashanti, we're going to drop a link to one of his talks. Please familiarize yourself with him. Please listen to him, read his things.
Yes.
Baba Malik also couldn't join us today, was also having technical issues. But if y'all have, right, one of the many things that are available for us to watch online, Hulu, the recent Katrina documentary came out, and you will see Baba Malik featured on it, and can learn more about him and his work there. But would love just some closing thoughts. I'm going to throw like 2 questions out, and feel free to speak on either of them or both of them. One, right, coming back even to the representation of women within political prisoners and politicized prisoner spaces, and knowing the legacies of our Afeni Shakurs, our Asada Shakurs, our Safia Bakaris, right? And those who have actively struggled as well and spent time incarcerated and dealing with the particular violences that women in incarceration deal with. If y'all have any thoughts to share on the importance of recognizing, right, the wholeness of who the political and politicized experience impacts. And then also just would love to hear from y'all personally. I know we talked some folks talked a little bit about your own spiritual practices. We started again with Baba Varanza Bowers and his flute playing, and he is a deeply mindful and wellness-centered person, and would love to hear from y'all. What are some of the things that you have done since coming home to support the healing, right? To support moving through any PTSD, knowing that there won't necessarily ever be a full recovery from this violent system, but what are things that you all have done to sustain yourselves and to find healing? So I put 2 questions out just because I know we're kind of coming up on time, but would love to hear y'all speak on any or all of those.
He's off mute.
In terms of women, I would like to say a quote from Dr. Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah. He said, "The degree of a country's revolutionary awareness can be measured by the political maturity of its women."
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, brother. I think that is really important for people to remember that, particularly as it relates to the Black Panther Party, it was more than half women, right? So women were carrying on the work, as Brother Akinsanya said, right? Women were doing the work. And also the problem is, like, who writes the stories? Who gets the book deals? Who organizes the panels and the events? I've that's long been a problem, but it's not just here. It's like we live in a patriarchal, male-dominated society, and so even among academia and Black academia, Black women are rendered invisible and marginalized. So it's harder in every way, but there are people. So people have to do research because there are people who have written books. Safia Bukhari, sadly, she gave her life to the work of freeing political prisoners. So much so that, as Jihad was telling Jaleel to take care of herself, sadly, she did not take care of herself. She ran herself into the ground because people who come home or people who survived feel guilty. And they, like, that's the thing about political prisoners. No revolutionary in the world forgets about their political prisoners. That's always a demand. And we can't make a demand if we don't have a movement, right? Sekou used to always say, you need to have a block of people. That's what makes people listen. So, but as Jihad said, we got all of this stuff. You got the bourgeoisie, you got the entertainers, you got like the entertainers are somehow revolutionary now, and people listen to them, right? And so we have a lot of things that are put in the way of the authentic voices being out there, or who gets to tell the story. But they are there, and women are there. And so people have to do research, and they, study. Like Black August is about study. But what we deal with on an everyday basis as Black people is what we deal with under this capitalist, colonial, imperialist system. Patriarchy, misogyny, and the invisibility of women. So people hold up certain people, but Asada, we love her, but she's a part of a movement. She don't stand by herself. But most people can't name anybody else. They can't even name the people that went to prison for liberating her. So we cannot hold up some people while pushing other people into the margins. So study. So I really do appreciate what the brother said in reading that quote.
So, and then Baba Jalil, I don't know if you also want to speak on it, or if anyone wants to speak on your personal practices for healing and sustainability, but more so for healing.
Yeah. As Dequi has acknowledged, I am Muslim, right? And so that's basically my foundation. Second of all, I'm married, right? So I have a wife that keeps me on my P's and Q's, okay? For certain, she keeps me on my P's and Q's to keep me balanced, okay, in terms of this work that we're doing. And that's part of my healing as well. Remember, I went to prison at the age of 19, okay? I didn't get out till I was 68, right? So my relationships, right, had to be redeveloped. I had to reorganize my thinking, my mind in terms of my relationships, particularly with women, right? So I was lucky for me to get out and have a partner, have a friend, have a companion who was there step by step to help me transition back into society. Okay, and that's a beautiful thing. We have to acknowledge that our women, as the saying says, hold up half the sky, right? And it always been the women who has been the motivating, inspirational organizers and leaders of our people, right? Always been, right? Our first teachers is at the feet of our mothers, okay? So we got to understand that, and we have to reorient our understanding of our relationships that we have with one another, particularly as Black people, because they destroyed the family, and destroying the family destroyed the community. They destroyed the relationship that we have between Black women and Black men, right? They have marginalized. They had, at one point said that Black men was a dangerous species, right? So if a Black man is a dangerous species, what that means to the Black woman, okay? And so we have to come to a new understanding that we're all in this together. Black men and Black women, Black children, Black people, right? And that's the course of struggle that we have to eventually move towards. And this healing process, we got to go in the healing process without first understanding our trauma.
That's right.
Right? The extent of our trauma. What are we healing? We don't know how we've been hurt or the harm has been done.
That's right.
Okay? So part of the process is the fact that we need to engage in the healing process by understanding the nature of our trauma. Right? We are a traumatized people. right? And we live in a traumatized nation. Okay, and what I mean by that is this here. I'm just one example that I'm off. Okay, what's a Negro? Where is Negro land? Our enemy named us Negroes, right? The people who enslaved us name us Negroes, right? And we accepted the name given to us by our enslavers. Okay, so now the question is this, right? If your enemy is naming you, that means that you are the property. Okay, because what you name? You name your pet, right? Butch and Joe and so forth. You name your car. My car's name is Harriet, right? I named my car. My car's name is Harriet, right? Because Harriet gonna take me to freedom wherever I get in that car and go, right? Go get me there, okay? Harriet gonna get me there, okay? So they named us, and we accept the name that they gave us. I still agree that we don't even know our own identity, who we are as a people, when the enemy names you, okay? So that's imperative. So that's part of the trauma. And the other part of the trauma is the white folks, right? The white superiority complex, right? The belief that they're superior to any other people on the planet, they're crazy. They're out of their minds. So we're dealing with crazy people, right? The people are insane, right? But they're insane. They are vicious. They're savage. They're barbaric to an extent in history. And we don't know that history yet. Or we have not studied history to the degree for which they take off whole cities like Tulsa or Osceola, right? Murder hundreds of people. This is what they do. Okay, so don't be surprised that this country supports genocide. Country's foundation is based upon genocide, genocide of the indigenous, right? Don't be surprised that the country supports slavery. The foundation of this country supports slavery, and as I stated earlier, this is a slave nation. Slavery has never been abolished in this country. It transitions from chattel slavery to penal slavery, still slavery. Same stroke of the pen. Okay, so for us, it is important that we begin to deal with the issue of our own trauma, right? Reestablish family, right? Several months ago, my wife and I, we went to my family reunion, right? Our 45th family reunion. Okay, we got to establish family reunions in our communities.
Yeah, we
right?
used to have them a lot.
We used to have them, yes.
Yeah.
And young people, go to your moms and your dads and your family members. Say you want a family reunion. You want to get all the family together.
Right.
Let's start there. Okay, that's part of the process. And get the mamas, get the mamas, get them daddies, get the mamas out the kitchen, put the daddies in. Right, cook their food for that family reunion. Okay, yes. So we have this work to do, and part of the process that we have to understand our trauma, right, and to know the process for which we can heal ourselves by the virtue of that trauma. My trauma was naturally over 50 years inside the prison system, right, and having dealt with that and reacclimating myself back in society, and by law's decree, right. I've had a partner to help me make that process. And so, thank you.
So, thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. Y'all, this has been Sunday service. So, whatever, this has been your church, your cathedral, your mosque, your temple, your shrine, your whatever it may be, wherever you find yourself. Like, again, I've just really appreciated all of the wisdom, all the knowledge, all the lessons and advice that have been dropped on us today. I'm not going to give myself the last word, so I'm gonna kick it over to Sis Dequi to wrap us off with today. And for me, just my deepest gratitude to all of y'all.
Well, I want to say thank you. As I started out with the organizers, I want to say thank you to the folks who are listening, who have contributed questions to the chat, who've been listening, who've been learning. I pray that people take some of what they heard and apply it to their lives wherever they can. I want to say thank you to all the brothers. I mean, Ashanti wasn't able to be here, but that brother is a real brother and a revolutionary. And I want to say thank you to the brothers that are here and have been here, Brother Jihad, Brother Jaleel, Brother Akinsania. Thank you for your struggle and your sacrifice. And it's clear that when we know, Maya Angelou says, when we know better, we do better. Brother Akinsanya said when he went to the military, he didn't know, he couldn't read. And it was thanks to those brothers that he met that it opened up his eyes and politicized him. So he became revolutionary in that. And so have so many other people, because we don't know. And that's on purpose. Malcolm said, you know, strong families make for strong nations. So they know that. So that, you know, the Black family, Black and New African families have been broken apart since the days of enslavement, and it has continued. So I'm glad to see. I want to see more of your work, Brother Akinsanya. After we get off this, I'm gonna find out how I can get some of your work, because I love your work. I'm so thankful that, you know, you are telling our stories through art. And Brother Jaleel, you're telling our stories with the work that you do, with the books. There are books out there. I want to let your people know that there are books out there, because we do tell our stories, and it is up to us to tell our histories and her stories. So I don't know what else to say. I just want to thank people in this month of Black August, in this month of every day being a day of resistance, Black history and her story, right? Dare to struggle, dare to win. We just have to keep on it because it's protracted generationally. So thank you for being here.